Hello, John.
Oliver.
So the gambling regulation bill has been passed through the Oireachtas. It will become law in another couple of months, and it'll be enacted, and there'll be all kinds of changes. This is a new development. There is some legislation up to now that covers various pieces of legislation, but this is actually setting up a regulatory body, which is badly needed, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, exactly. That's
So
the important thing. Go ahead, Oliver. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So no, go ahead there. You're fine. I know you want to go to
yeah.
mass,
Well,
so we'll try and get the video done as quickly as possible. So go ahead. Yeah.
right. Well, now we're setting up a regulator body. That's good because there's different forms of gambling. There's people that gamble on horses. There's people that gambling on soccer teams that you have in England. The gamble on results there. There used to be a fella, I forget what they used to call him, Blanchflower or something. He used to have a thing about you could nominate who might win this, that, the other, and you could win a lot of money. And then you have slot machines, and then you have poker. Poker. I know some people, even when I was in my youth, that lost a farm because of gambling, and they were always very well dressed, and their family was very respectable. But the father, I think his wife died, so he lost his farm because of gambling, probably with horses. But now, with regard to the gambling, one of the things that unfortunately has occurred is that booking offices are open 7 days a week and open until late because there's this horse racing all over the world. So they'd want to be curtailed their opening hours because they're open 7 days a week. And the only day I think they close is Christmas Day. And then, as I say, you have slot machines and then you have the internet. So I presume and with regard to the people that have this addiction, because it's an addiction to gambling, there's Gamblers Anonymous for ones that are addicted, the same as Alcoholic Anonymous or the drugs. There's a drugs anonymous as well. There's all sorts of, and there's people addicted to pornography. That's so much available, even for young people, and it can be a problem for them and their families because it's especially if people are married and this is what they're at. It's a very evil addiction, and people have had to seek help for it, and because there's a satanic ring to it. So addictions are the basic thing here, and I hope that in families, particularly if somebody has an addiction to gambling, as we're talking about, that the family, the wife, or if it's the wife that has the problem, the husband, if they are able to um, bring it to the attention of this regulation body, that it will be dealt with and followed through, that it won't be kind of having to go through various stages. That first of all, the person that's guilty of this would want to be brought in and they'd want to be curtailed. In other words, they'd want to, wherever they gamble, they'd want to be, that it would be barred from gambling. That's the only thing. That maybe might be dealt with them. I don't know whether that's possible or not. Um, but it's an addiction.
Okay. I think the idea anyway is that all the people who are involved in the industry, they'll have a runoff period where they'll be told, okay, you need to wind down certain practices. I about 10, maybe God, 13, 14 years ago, I did write to politicians about gambling, and I suggested ways to. There's a particular type of gambler, a friend of mine who's since deceased. He passed on. He was an alcoholic and he was a gambler. There's a particular kind of person that inspired this particular idea. The idea is that no bookies should be beside a pub because my friend was basically he had a problem with alcohol, a problem with gambling, and he was going from the bookies to the pub all day long, every day. Went on for
I've
two
seen that
years.
happening all the time myself, even
Yeah,
now as we speak.
yeah. So he lost 175,000 euros, which was a small amount of inheritance that he got, and it was terrible. And then I know a woman who was a very wealthy lady, a business lady in Dublin, and her husband, they retired at the age of 65 from their business. They sold their business, and they both had about 800,000 each, and they were looking forward to a retirement. But her husband was a serious gambler, but this time he took it to the limit. So he decided that he was going to spend his 800,000 euros. He spent it all in 3 hours. She said it
What
was,
was it?
she said he came home as calm as could be, and he said to her, I won't say her name, but he said to her, look, I have something to tell you. I've lost the 800,000 euros I bet on the stock exchange. Everything was going well. So he got it from 500,000 up to 800,000. And then suddenly he put on a bet and lost the entire lot. She said she couldn't believe how calm he was. She kicked him out of the house and she spent her 500,000 euros downsizing to a smaller house. She since died there a couple of months ago. But she was very, very upset about it, and it's very, very understandable, of course, that kind of money. So gambling, it affects everybody. It doesn't discriminate. It's all over society, but particularly there's one victim, and that's the man who goes to the pub and then goes next door to the bookies and does makes a kind of a ritual out of it, you know. So I think they should be the bookies,
Yeah.
and the pubs should be separate. They should be like within a mile
Well,
of each other.
aside from that, Oliver, aside from that aspect of it, I think vis-a-vis the regulation, uh, if the man that's doing that is married, the wife should be able to make representation to the authorities, this regulation authority, which would need to have places not just in Dublin but in different parts of the country that people can assess it and that have the problem with somebody in their family doing this. The like of that story that you just mentioned is absolutely appalling. That such an idiot uh, that could do it. He must have been doing that before. That wasn't the first time he was at that racket. I mean, that is kind of like it's aside from the business of addiction, it's kind of like stupidity as well. Because even if he got more money, he still would probably lose it anyway. If he even got say 1 million and improved, but it's an addiction, and they don't seem to be happy until they lose it all, and then they're cool, calm, and collected, if you like. They don't. It doesn't seem to bother them. It bothers most normal people. Yours truly. The only thing I like is a game of poker, but I never was successful. For some reason or other, I couldn't have a what I call a blank face. You get me drift. And so my friend Eamon Collin was good at it, but I'm only just saying that people have different addiction. But horses, no, I never was bothered. Uh, I am not from or anything as regards that. Thank God that never took a hold. But vis-a-vis and the only time I went to a race was when I was involved with Red Mills, Connie's of Course Bridge. They sponsored a race in Gordon Park Racecourse in February, and we got tickets, free tickets, and I got a good few from them to give to customers that wanted to go to the races, and I gave them out, and then I had myself and my late wife went, and we had a grand time, and you got a meal. There was either curry chicken or another kind of a rice thing that wasn't curry. It was, and then you had wine. So you could be under the influence of that because it was all in the house. And so we always went to that. But that's the only race meeting I ever went to. And I never backed a winner in my life. any horse I've had, if we could get a prize for the last horse, I'd be in the money because my horses, wherever I backed, never seem to. They might be leading for a bit, but that's the last you'd say them. They might be drawn up the end, that sort of way. And so
Yeah,
I'm not interested in anything like that, only a game of poker or even a game of 25. And you don't get that
yeah.
too much.
I have I have another friend who's a professional gambler, and he'd be what I would call a moderate gambler, and he's been banned by the bookies in Ireland and the UK. He worked for the government as one of those figures people, a statistician, I think. Um, but he figured out a complete system. He showed it to me, and he said to me, he says, there's something you need to be a gambler, to be a professional. And I said, what's that? And he says, you need to be a warrior. If you're a warrior, okay, you can become a very good gambler. This is what he said to me, okay? He says, because you know when to stop. You know when to hold back. And he says, the problem is that the man who gambles and is an addict, he doesn't know when to stop. He'll just keep plowing on and he loses everything, you know?
Correct. It matter what much he wins. Yeah, and but I think there's professional ones that, as a matter of fact, as my wife's first cousins, they were accountants, and this fellow was an accountant and become a professional poker player in the United States, and he make a living at it, and not a bad living. So he's a professional gambler. They have a certain are able to sort of win because they have a blank face or whatever it is. Nobody knows what they have. So that's the way it is. And but as regards to the addiction end of it, I think that first of all, bookie offices, aside from wherever they're situated, they shouldn't be open as often as they are. They should be closing as they used to do at 5 o'clock, and they didn't open at the weekend. Now they're open 7 days a week until late at night, and it's the poor devils. That's it's just that want to be curtailed, and people then that go to casinos with slot machines, management would want to have a role there to. If somebody is there all day, and sometimes people are, and they lose money that way. They're
Now,
addicted to putting in money into slot machines,
you
and
mentioned,
to have in Las Vegas in America, and some people can win a lot of money, and so they're all at that bracket. But most people lose.
yeah,
You get the odd one that wins, the same as the lotto. People, I was in a shop there today, and the person wasn't buying groceries. They were seemed to be getting tickets for this this lotto. And I said to myself, must have spent a lot of money because they got a pile of fucking tickets or whatever it is. So that's an addiction, the
it is
lotto.
indeed. Yeah,
And they're
absolutely.
buying so much that they hope to win something.
Now, he also told me, my professional gambler friend, he said that what happens in the casinos at nighttime in Dublin City is you've a lot of Chinese people who are professional poker players. And what they do is they go in at about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock after midnight, and they seek out the Irish drunken man. So they said that what happens is basically that the Chinese are there, they're professional players, and they're there just purely for one thing, that's just to get the Irishman's money. The Irishman is drunk. He has a flutter for 100, 200, 300 quid, whatever it is. He said that the Irishman doesn't mind losing the money. It's part of his night out, and that the Chinese are grateful to will gratefully
Yeah, you
accept
are.
the
And that's
money.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chinese are gamblers, by the way. That's one thing that they
That's
have.
yeah,
The
yeah,
ones
yeah,
that are in the West, they're gamblers. And because I know ones that have restaurants and you see them in places like that,
yeah.
casinos and places wherever there was gambling. So that's a problem in their culture, as far as I can see, because maybe their culture is so inward. I think if a person has, shall we say, practices their Catholic faith, just to put it that way, and believes what they believe, the chances of them having these type of addictions is it doesn't occur that much. Doesn't occur at all. Because you're you have a purpose and to save your immortal soul. But other ones with the addictions, they nearly do it until they're they nearly die doing it. The alcoholic especially will drink and die from it with liver problems and all. That's nearly one of the worst from the point of view of family. So any kind of addiction, I think, and this is about gambling, but I think it would want to be more widespread to take into account all the other addictions that we just spoke about. And talking about that, I'll just mention this little item, if I may, just to sort of wind up. Phil Harris, the Darktown Poker Club. I used to love this, but I just use a few words. Um, Stop slipping them there aces down between your knees. Now, sitting there, there chanced to be a one-eyed man. Bill stood up and with a sigh, Lord, this is an awful shame. He said, there's someone cheating in this here game. It was, I do not intend to name this person, so I'll refrain from mentioning his name. But if I catch him cheating once again, I'll take my fist and close that other eye. A one-eyed man was the cheater. There's more to it than that, but Phil Harris, the Darktown Poker Club, is a gift. And, I think one can look at it from not being affected by it, but I think that spouses that have a member of their family, especially a husband or wife that has this problem, it needs to be able to contact so that they can then be dealt with and perhaps taken and rehabilitated in some institution to rid them of that business. But the way they're doing everything in this country, the government, on the one hand, they're encouraging all sorts of evil in some ways, the killing of the innocent, abortion, and basic contraception for young women, free contraception, all this type of thing. You can't do a various all these items and expect kind of proper behaviour. Respect a person has to respect their body. Number one, this government um, is not going down that kind of a road of helping people to live better lives, if you know what I mean.
I know,
They're
I know, but look, this is a beginning. It's going to be a regulatory body. It'll be enacted in law very shortly. I think it's a good positive step in the right direction. There's a long way to
it is,
go,
it is.
and you know,
Yeah, it should have been brought in years ago, of course.
100%.
They were in 2024. There's an election coming, and one smells something that might appeal to people on the horizon, shall we say. And there's all this type of thing, and you'll find that there'll be other carrots held in front, like, so as you can follow it. But we'll see what happens because there's problems in all the parties, quite frankly. And I was even contacted to see would I contest the election by somebody that sort of knew that I'd done it and that wanted pro-life people and all the rest, but I have no intention. I did it before, as you rightly know, and not too bad if all things considered. But at this stage, it's the Christian TV and donations is what we're after. If people have money to spare, uh, send it our way. because we can do with donations, and we are getting some. But we'd like to get a good windfall from somebody that has more money than they need to have excess. They can put it towards the Christian TV, or because we stand up for what's right. That's the main thing, and we'll encourage people in many ways to come back to the practice of the Catholic faith to give them a purpose. And
I s-
it won't be preaching, it'll be encouragement.
I spoke to a man today, and he sold his land, and he got 7 million. So maybe I'll have a word with him to try and get a few
I know.
bob in there,
Well
John
done.
Malone.
Have you got leaflets for the Christian TV Ireland?
Yeah, we'll talk about that offline because we're online there. Okay. So listen,
Oh, right,
that's
offline. Yeah, we're
great.
talking about gamblers, but
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
So that's great. So we'll just wrap it up there because I know you want to go to mass. So yeah, look, it's
Correct.
it's a step in
Yes.
the right
But
direction. It's overdue, and well done to the government, I think, on this one. Yep,
yeah, well, as I say, let's hope it's widespread, considering all the different ways of gambling that were just outlined there. And management in these places should have a responsibility to monitor. They know the ones that have the problem. And of course, they're getting money and they don't give a damn, but they should be responsible. That's when you manage something, you have to be responsible for what goes on. So I hope there's that in the regulations, but we'll see.
that's great. Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Oliver. Bye now.
I know.